Okay, and welcome. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Servant Leadership 101. Hey, I'm Nathaniel Gadsden. So glad to be here on The Voice. Brother Chris, how you doing?
Bless you, man. Good morning to you.
All right, man. I love the top, brother. I
Thank
love
you,
that.
sir.
That's nice.
I learned after the best, brother.
Yeah. We're always so glad to have with us Nicole Wilkerson. Nicole, how you doing?
I'm doing fabulous. And you?
I'm doing fabulous as well. Well, I don't know about fabulous, but I'm doing good. I'm
Hey,
gonna put it in the
you
good
woke up
category.
this morning, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's good. Actually, that's great. That's great. Yeah. So anyhow, it's good to see you as always. Ripping and running as always, you know how it goes. But we are here.
Yes.
Thank God for that. And I know you have something good in store for us. For those who don't know, this is Nicole Wilkerson. She runs Nicole is Making It Happen. She is the founder of that and is a consumer advocate. And I'm so glad that you're on today. Nicole, what you got for us?
Okay. Well, I do have a shameless plug.
Mhm.
As I told you guys a few weeks ago, my website is up and running. And this is just a preview of some of our merchandise that we're going to have. This is a baseball hat. It says Nicole is Making It Happen. We will have those for sale shortly in all different colors, especially with the spring coming up.
All
So
right.
if you're
All right.
interested, keep your eyes posted and you'll see the link to purchase very shortly. So, guys, I know
Fantastic.
you are wondering what I have for you this week. I have some incredible finds this week, not only for food, but also for laundry detergent and some smell goods. So, for those of you who aren't familiar with couponing, P&G inserts, coupon inserts that normally come in the Sunday paper have been discontinued. So they no longer print an entire insert, but what they are doing is making more digital coupons for the store app. So if you shop at a particular store, go into that app and clip the coupon. So this week at Giant, there is a coupon for Febreze. That's a tongue twister there.
Mhm.
Um, the Febreze sprays are actually like $3.30 up to $3.49, depending on what scent you get. But there is a coupon in the Giant app. You can either go into the app or you can go online and clip that coupon to your account. It gives you $3.30 off when you buy two. So that's like buying one and getting one for free. And it's not just on the aerosol sprays, but it's also on the fabric sprays. And this is a great time to buy the fabric spray because a lot of people are getting their cleaning supplies and getting ready for spring cleaning. And what I like to do is I like to use those fabric sprays to freshen up my throw pillows, my throw rugs, my curtains, and the little blankets that we may use when we're just laying around the house and things. So that's an incredible buy, like a buy one get one free. So that's always a good deal when you can find a buy like that on P&G products. Again, let's talk about laundry detergent. We've discussed laundry detergent 1,001 times on this show. And I don't know, but I love to buy laundry detergent. That's just one of my things. I like to stay stocked with laundry detergent. But again, with P&G not printing the inserts anymore, it's kind of hard to find coupons for particular detergents. So you can't be brand loyal. So if you are a Tide person or a Gain person, it is a little difficult to stock up on those products the way you used to like 6 months to a year ago. But it is a way to save on detergent when you try other brands. So one brand that I found that is very skin friendly, and I say skin friendly because I have not heard of a lot of people breaking out from Arm & Hammer, and Arm & Hammer also makes a non-allergenic, I think that's what it's called, or allergy-free detergent. So this week at Giant, and these promotions go up to Thursday at midnight, but they are buy one, get one free. So if you bought a bottle of Arm & Hammer detergent, it's $5.49. You'll get two of them for $5.49. So basically that's like paying like what, $2.75 for each one. That's a pretty good deal, guys. So I would definitely stock up on that. And remember, you have until Thursday at midnight. Another deal that Giant's having, and every week they have some type of meal deal. And I have found these to be really cheap and really good, especially for big families. So this week they're actually allowing you to save on making chili. So you can make like a big pot of chili for like $7.80. And what's nice about that is we all know that when you make a pot of chili, that usually lasts for like 2 days, right? So where can you make a meal for your family for like $7.80 for 2 days? That's very difficult to find. Well, you can find that this week at Giant. Basically, you want to go in and you want to buy the Giant brand ground beef. It is 80% lean fat and it's $3.79 a pound. So if you buy 2 pounds, then you're looking at like $7.60. Now, what do you get free with it? You get the box of Jiffy corn muffin mix. You get the chili beans, you get the diced tomato paste, and then you get the chili sauce. So you get everything you need to make a pot of chili for $7.60. That is a pretty good deal. I know we have a family of 2. If I made a pot of chili off of that, we probably eat off of that for like 3 or 4 days. But if you have like a family of 4 or 5, it may last a day or 2. But those are some finds that I had for you this week at Giant Food Stores. And remember, you could take advantage of those today through Thursday at midnight, and there's no paper coupons needed.
Fantastic. Good stuff as always. Thank you, Nicole. And believe me, folks, if you do what the lady tells you to do, you're going to save some money, right? And that's a good thing.
Definitely.
So whatever you do, be sure and follow Nicole is Making It Happen. She's on Facebook Live. And one more time, you say you have your something up and running. What is it again? Your webpage?
Yep. Our website is running. It is NicoleIsMakingItHappen.com. We have the same thing everywhere. Nicole is Making It Happen is on all of the social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and then our website, NicoleIsMakingItHappen.com.
So Nicole, you and I got to sit down and talk. I'm still dying to get into the media world the way you are.
I know.
Yeah, so we got to talk about that. But congratulations, first off, on getting it all up and running. And
Thank
keep
you.
on keeping on. Yes, indeed. And we'll be talking a bit later because we have an event coming up, and I know we got some planning to do for March the 19th, folks. We're going to celebrate Women's History Month, and we're just putting final touches on that. But stay tuned. Nicole, again, thanks so much, and I'll be talking to you later.
Thank you, and keep on saving, guys.
Keep on saving. Amen, amen. Hey, by the way, listen, if you have never seen this, you need to check this out. This is the Black Business Directory, and this is Brother Richard Utley puts this out, and it's an excellent magazine. It's always excellent directory. It's not necessarily a magazine, so in magazine style, but has some wonderful articles in here written by Linwood Sloan, and also historical articles on Black history, and then also just a tremendous guide for you in terms of Black businesses and people who are working in businesses who happen to be Black or African American. And it's probably, I know it's the best directory we have in Central Pennsylvania as far as the African American community is concerned. And you can be a part of this. You can actually advertise in the Black Business Directory. There's a 2023 and a 2024 coming up. In fact, I'm going to start on it now because I'm always kind of behind the 8 ball, but we do have a wonderful ad in here, my wife and I, for our church. We had to go resort back to our old name, but that's okay. It is a wonderful ad called the Mighty Redeemed Christian Church of God. We've since changed the name to Life Esteem Redeemed Christian Church of God, Life Esteem Ministries. But this directory is outstanding and it is free. So wherever you can find copies, please pick it up. This is his 12th year, as you can see on the little thing there, the 12th year he's published this, and he's doing a wonderful job. Brother Richard Utley, lifting up the community. He is a servant leader in his own way. Hey, today we're going to talk about a number of things. This is the last Monday of Black History Month 2023. And I'm so glad to have this opportunity. Let me ask Brother Chris if he'll come on for just a minute here, if you don't mind, Brother Chris. You had started channels, And I wanted you to talk a little bit more about that because I want to, do more of our channel and promote it a little bit more.
Sure.
Tell us about the Voice TV.
Sure. Well, thank you again, Dr. Gadsden, for this brief moment to talk about the voicetv.org. Again, the voicetv.org is an extension of what we're presently doing, allowing our podcasters not just to create podcasts, but to control the platforms in which their podcasts are disseminated upon. We never know the value of owned media until borrowed media is gone. Preferably borrowed media will always be around to stay, but who knows? It could be here today and gone tomorrow. We don't pay for it, so we can't argue or complain when they limit our impact, limit our reach. And one day, if they decide not to allow us to disseminate our content, whatever that content of choice may be, on their platforms, because it's borrowed media versus owned media. So with the voicetv.org, it allows the opportunity for content creators, social media influencers, pastors, ministries, entrepreneurs to have a source where they can disseminate their own content across the internet 24/7, 365. Where podcasts, if we're not tuned in 11 to 12 o'clock, we'll miss Servant Leadership 101. But with your own channel, it's always broadcasting 24/7, 365. When you're asleep, your station is broadcasting. When you're on vacation, on the holidays, your station is broadcasting. Again, we control all the technical aspects. You just tell us what content you want on your channel, when you want it to air on your channel, and then we can get your channel up and running in 1 to 3 business days. We're so proud to say you're actually, I think, the second person to actually own a channel. We started with no channels. Now we presently have 18 channels that are up. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Dr.
No, go ahead. You got it.
Yes, sir. We presently have 18 customer-created channels that are up and running 24/7, 365. Comedy channels, there's evangelistic channels, there are regular television channels, and there are podcast-specific channels like the channels you own. You own the Writers Workshop channel, which features, the Writers Workshop. Went all over YouTube on a lot of our Writers Workshop participants' pages, and they may not even know a lot of their content, like Maria James, Wendy Nina Chirioni, Ro Brady. Also, a lot of the forums and the groups that they've hosted in different places, they probably don't even know are airing on the Writers Workshop channel, are airing to give them further publicity about, their passion and the things they love to do. And we also have, in closing, the Life Esteem channel as well, which brings new life into all the podcasts you guys have created. For content creators, we create so much content. We spend so much time creating that content. And after we, do the initial broadcast, where does that content go? It's buried in a graveyard of podcasts that no one really goes to look for because there's so much competing media out there. But we help solve that issue where we can take all the content you've ever created and we can create a linear TV channel with your content to reach your audience for further brand awareness. So thank you, Dr. Gadsden.
No, thank you. It's excellent, man. And I want to do more with it because it is a fantastic offering that you have made available to us. And I just hope people will, not only know about it, but take advantage of it because this is groundbreaking as far as I'm concerned.
Sure. And we look forward to really take advantage of it. It's one thing that to be able to say you have a channel on the voicetv.org or you have a channel on the voice17104.com, but we could take your channel and make a customized player that you can embed on your own website where, you can stay true and consistent to your brand. You could tell people, to check out your website, and then your player will be playing there with the content of your choice. And then you also have the option to, lease out additional time to other content creators to help create a further awareness about their brands, their products, their services as well, sir.
Excellent. So we'll be talking, man, because like I said, I know there's a lot more I need to be doing with that, and I'm looking forward to doing that. So good stuff. Keep it up, brother. You are the epitome of a servant leader, my brother. I mean, seriously, making it happen. Yeah. So God bless. Thanks again for explaining all that. And so, we have just so many opportunities around, folks. And I always tell people, don't complain, man. Look for the opportunities and thank God for them, and then take advantage of them. A lot of times we spend so much time complaining that we miss the opportunities. We do more research than complaining. instead of saying it's not there, say, well, what is here? And search for it, and then see how you can utilize that. Be positive and proactive as opposed to being negative and destructive. Does that make sense? Okay, real good. So this is the last Monday in Black History Month, 2023. And I just wanted to lift up some significant events that have happened back in the 1960s that have a great impact on us even today. And I think it's important that we remember that nothing just simply started out of clear blue. Black Lives Matter is an excellent, movement, so to speak, in terms of, social impact and, the rallying cry that it is. However, what I've always said about the Black Lives Matter movement is that I wish it was had more of a civil rights, foundation to it, in terms of we knew the anchor organizations, the anchor people, and it had some staying power. There were laws changed. There were things that were knocked down, and there were a lot of milestones. Same thing we said about Black Lives Matter. However, to me, Black Lives Matter has been more reactive than proactive in the sense that, we react against police brutality and the senseless killings of, hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of African Americans, unarmed African Americans who encountered police. But police brutality has been talked about. We're talking about the 1920s. Even before then, we've known that police brutality was a plague within on our society and our community, especially within the Black community. And so, but we need mechanisms in place. This is one of the arguments that Thurgood Marshall, the Supreme Court judge and great lawyer, had, not with Dr. King necessarily, but just with the way people lifted up the marches. But he said, the marches are great. Brings attention and awareness to the overall problem, like Black Lives Matter does. But we still need legislation. We still need things to say, we're knocking this down. I watched a segment just yesterday, a wonderful segment about a journalist who was really groundbreaking. She was one of the persons who encouraged and was a mentor for Oprah Winfrey, for a lot of the great Black journalists that you see today in radio and TV and whatever. She was like the spark. Her last name was Davis, and they profiled her on Sunday morning, the news magazine that comes on from 9 to 11, 9 to 10:30 on Sunday mornings on Channel 21, CBS affiliate, CBS. And so it shows her now where she's in her 90s and she's lost a lot of her memory and, she's very frail a whole bit, but it showed her when she started off and became that dynamic personality that most of us have never heard of. Probably almost all of us, except those persons in the field, had never heard of this person. But she was a pioneer. She was a civil rights fighter inside the broadcast booth, both radio and TV and all that. And then she touched the lives, like I said, of Oprah Winfrey. The gentleman who was doing happened to be somebody who, she was one of the people who, like I said, encouraged him. And he was now able to, lift her up because he knew who she was. But think about it. Here she is existing now. She's almost transitioning. She's in her 90s. She has, looks like she has Alzheimer's. She's very frail. But he knew her when she was vibrant and making history. But no one knows her name except very few people. The people that benefited from her certainly know her, but most of us don't. Why isn't she in the history books and this and that? Well, not everybody can be. But remembering our history, knowing our history is very, very important. Why? Because the African-American church, God, has always been with the African, and the African-American church has always been with us. And this is how we got to where we are. And people want to complain and say, church is irrelevant and all that kind of stuff. The preachers this, the preachers that. If they only knew. I used to be one of those people. When you're young and strong and think you know every darn thing, you say stupid stuff. And then you read something and you learn and you realize just how wrong you were. And so anyhow, I'm going to lift up a couple things today. And I'm going to start with March the 21st, 1965. Listen, it says, would have begun weeks before as a routine voter registration drive by the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in Selma, Alabama. It became the historic 5-day Selma to Montgomery March, one of the most significant events of America's civil rights era. It said, with the eyes of the world focused on the treatment of its newest Nobel Peace Prize laureate, Dr. Martin Luther King, Alabama proved that its race hatred and violence were no respecter of persons. This man had won the Nobel Peace Prize for leading a peaceful revolution against hatred in America. And yet and still, the racists in Alabama and the South and the North, had no respecter of his title, the fact that he was a minister, the fact that he was doing things peacefully, the fact that he was speaking up for all people. They could care less. Into those 3 gruesome weeks in March poured the legacy of hundreds of violent years. In Selma on March 7th, Alabama state troopers and sheriff's deputies attacked civil rights marchers, beating them and then spraying them with tear gas. Also on March 7th, 3 white ministers identified as nigger lovers for their support of human rights were attacked on the streets of Selma and beaten so brutally that one, the Reverend James Reeb, died. He was a white man. Reverend James Reeb died as a result of his wounds. Around the nation, people outraged by these tragedies headed to Alabama, bringing the forces of their numbers and their bodies to bear on the nation's shame. So on March 21st, thousands of demonstrators led by the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King completed the first leg of his planned march from Selma to Montgomery. Under the protection of the Federalist Alabama National Guard and U.S. Army troops, the march continued for 4 days until it arrived in Montgomery, a ribbon of strength, 25,000 people long, a ribbon of strength. Listen, 25,000 people marched from Selma to Montgomery. And then it says on March 25th, the 5-day, 50-mile crusade by foot, and they were foot soldiers of all possible descriptions, in other words, Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, everybody, ended with a mass rally on the state capitol steps in Montgomery. It was the last great march of the civil rights era. President Johnson's civil rights legislation began to be passed by Congress, and by August, the voting rights bill had been signed into law, a bill that was renewed in 1990, only after stiff political opposition and through a major coalition campaign for support. It had to be, again, reinstated in 1990, signed into law. So don't forget now, the voting rights that we have were hard fought for, and by the way, are still tenuous. Look what they have done in 2020, 21, and 22. They literally have, in the face of Black Lives Matter and the massive outpouring that this movement has brought, still many states are fighting and signing into law legislation that will limit the ability for people to vote. Don't sleep on this. They're trying their best to stop those of us on the left, which we call, Democrats and independents, who are more in the middle. They're trying their best to stop us because this new Republican Party, it ain't no joke, y'all. And, they're no joke at all. They'll use scripture and everything else to pull the wool over your eyes. They let you think that somehow they're talking about America and democracy and all that, but they're really talking about them, and they're really talking about us in the backhanded way. They're trying to stop us, our stories from being told to the generation that is coming up because they don't want our kids, their kids, white kids, to feel bad about their history or to feel as if they did something wrong. So they don't want to tell the true story. Isn't that something? We got to be real servant leaders. In other words, we got to get out there and tell the truth. Make sure that the truth does not get crushed to ground. There are all kinds of things going on. And God help me to understand how so many African Americans who have benefited from this massive outpouring of God's love and revelation in many different ways for the African American, for the African around the world. How is it that so many people who are Africans in the leadership, who are blessed with platforms, turn a blind eye to the reality just for the sake of their further advancement and not for the truth to be told? I don't get it, never will, and no one convinced me that I should, because it doesn't make any sense in the sight of God's great earth. Please, we have got to figure out how we're allowing ourselves to be duped into the nonsense, the craziness. They'll come up with slogans like critical race theory. What the heck is that? That is the most ridiculous thing. They'll come up with stuff like, playing the race card. Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, the race card was played back when you had the hand. And the race card is played even now today. But this on your side, not ours. And by the way, that critical race theory crap that you're talking, I think it was called history. And history doesn't change just because it makes you feel uncomfortable. We didn't feel comfortable when you started telling our history from the standpoint of just slavery. I mean, are you serious? And then along comes real servant leaders who says, no, in order to serve the people, you have to love the people. And if you're going to love the people, then you have to serve the people. And that means that you have to tell the truth. And the truth, come on, it's all said together, will set us free. That's right. We can squint all you want and try to pretend that we don't see the real history. But the truth of the matter is, the real history is what's called truth, and it cannot be changed. We got to stand on the truth. Listen, it's so much that needs to be said about, what is being done and how it's being done today. But it's all related to and linked back to where we come from. And remember, the church, the church was the central place where we gathered and where we learned together, where we organized, and it made us stronger. Where would we be today if it were not for the church? People of all racial backgrounds, all ethnic backgrounds, can really probably lean toward, the church. Now, there's always a segment within every society, every community, every neighborhood and family that's going to, somehow figure out to do all this by ourselves and not with God. We know who those people are. We know what their purpose is, to lift themselves up and not the truth, and that the truth would be God. 3 weeks after Dr. King's assassination in Memphis, the members of the civil rights movement were depressed and in mourning. Said it again, the members of the civil rights movement, they were depressed and they were in mourning. But they were not defeated. And that's an important part for us to always remember. Sometimes we get down and we can be depressed and we can be in mourning, but being defeated is a whole different level. Don't be defeated in your life or in your ministry, because that's what the devil wants. Listen, Dr. King had traveled to Memphis to raise support for striking garbage workers. The situation in Memphis symbolized the plight of poor Americans of every color and hue, the effects of low-paying jobs or the lack of any paying job at all. So before his murder, Dr. King and the leaders of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference had conceived of a multiracial assembly of poor people in Washington, D.C., to be called the Poor People's Campaign of 1968. Determined to keep the work going, a delegation of leaders, say that again, it ain't everybody, but a delegation of leaders representing poor communities of every race and hue met with congressional leaders and cabinet officials in late April. They came to address their demands for jobs, a minimum guaranteed income, welfare reform, and an end to the slaughter of poor people in Asia due to the rapidly escalating war in Vietnam. So in May, 9 caravans of poor people made their way to Washington, gathering supporters along the way and dramatizing the plight of this nation within a nation. Arriving in the Capitol on May 11th, 1968, the demonstrators erected a shanty town, of plywood shacks and tenants on a 16-acre campsite within walking distance of the White House and Capitol Hill. They called it Resurrection City. Oh my goodness, that's biblical. Resurrection City. So there they stayed for the next month, 2,500 strong, living in the mud, shuttling back and forth to Capitol Hill, and gaining the support of 50,000 demonstrators, including Rosa Parks. And also it says, who joined them for the Solidarity Day in mid-June. Remember, this is in 1968. So when the campaign was originally conceived, supporters had been promised the presence of Dr. King. In the wake of his murder, that demonstration became a memorial tribute. in the wake of his murder. Yeah, that's right. They murdered Dr. King, and not because he did anything wrong, but because they did not want a Black man to continue to succeed and have a major voice in this world. And so they struck him down with the hope that they would silence him. But quite frankly, his voice got even stronger because of the life that he lived and the example that he gave. And so, hats off to Dr. Martin Luther King and to all those wonderful persons who marched and who believed in the righteousness of our victory and justice, that justice would prevail. And so, yeah, for those of you who took those lumps upside the head, the beatings, run over by horses, sprayed with powerful water hoses, hit with billy clubs, pistol whipped with guns, handguns. So much was done for us to be free and able to move in the society the way we move, and not see ourselves just as Black people, but as human beings. Tremendous, absolutely tremendous. I said again, hats off to you, those of you who marched. And so there's a lot that can be said. I always come out of this particular book called Glory Days, 365 Inspired Moments in African American History. I might revert back to that in just a minute. So part of what we have to do as servant leaderships is have courage. As servant leaders, have courage. Because without courage, this is a thing called fight, flight, or freeze. Without courage, we're going to either freeze or take flight. But with courage, we'll learn how to fight. And how to fight is, something that we need to know about. Sometimes we just need to run because you're overwhelmed and, you don't think you could fight. And it may be wise to just get up and go. But the freeze is not an option. I mean, the freeze means you just lost all sense of everything and you're paralyzed in my mind and you can't go. So, yeah, the freeze is something else. But to fight, knowing how to fight, and to fight with strengths and not fight with, going across your current, across purposes, so to speak. Sometimes we fight and we end up destroying ourselves. You don't want to do that. We start fighting amongst ourselves. Don't want to do that. We have to fight the enemy. And the enemy has to be well defined. And the enemy has to know that we're not going to let nobody turn us around. Turn us around. We're not going to let nobody turn us around. We're going to keep on walking, keep on talking, walking to the promised land. That's the way we do it. And also with the fight of understanding that, there will be casualties, there will be victims, there will be, loss. But the question becomes, are we callous? Do we have hardened hearts against those who we fight against, even those whom we lost? No, we can't have that because we're Christians and we're supposed to be people filled with joy. And when we fight, although we fight, how does the song go? We are soldiers in the army. We got to, Martins. Although we have to die, we got to hold up the bloodstained banner. We got to hold it up until we die. I'm messing up the words, but you get the sentiment. We are soldiers in the army of God. Hey, listen, part of what we need to do is, again, do research, be good finders. So go back and make sure you understand the issues of yesterday as they apply to today, and then what they have implications for tomorrow. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow are extremely important parts of just a thing called our journey. And as we journey and then move forward, we have to understand that there will be things called of us. And if we're not ready, it said, "Oh, be ye always ready." If we're not ready, we may miss a wonderful opportunity to meet people and to, strengthen our resolve to do the work that God has given us. That's always extremely important as well. I'm going to ask Brother Chris to pull up some pictures that I sent him earlier today. These are pictures from my wife and I's trip to South Africa. And these pictures were taken in Cape Town, South Africa. And in fact, this one was taken more up and around. I think we were in Soweto or Durban. So in this picture now, this is outside of a school. The woman in the middle happens to be from Washington, D.C., and she was the head of our delegation. She has done this trip a few times, and she really is just a great person. And so anyhow, Pat and I, my wife, had petitioned to be on their board of directors out of D.C., and it's called the Betty Yates Foundation. And she has been going, Betty Yates has now since passed, and she was going for years over to, to South Africa and working with people in a couple of different schools. That was one of the schools. The first school we stopped at was that particular school. And we were really impressed with the young people there and all that they go through and all that they have to know, And then we were able to find, okay, there you go. This is some of the students. One of the teachers who is talking about the gifts that were given. All those things you see in front of you were brought by somebody from our delegation, 30 of us. And a lot of people, brought items like you see the crayons and you see, looks like some books or something over there on the side there, markers for sure. But all those things were brought because those kinds of supplies can be very difficult to come by, especially if they're in Africa and stuff. So we take what we can take. And then people, benefit from it. And those young students are really glad to see them and glad to be able to have their own, own tools. So that was really good. That so it makes you feel good to know that you're doing something that will help somebody else. At the same time, you also know that the help not only is it needed, it's necessary for people to survive. And so just to survive, and these young people had to go through so much just to get to school. And a lot of times they couldn't afford, school. Here we are at the same school, and that's another teacher, two teachers, in fact, in the foreground. Both women, you can see they're both women and men, young men at the school there. You can see they've had on uniforms. It's a basic uniform, but uniform nonetheless. And they said it really made a difference. That before then, people going out to the fields and doing all other kinds of things and just to kind of, rake up some money. And school was not an option. They had to work. And they had to work on the parents' farm or, do whatever they had to do just to survive. But then have them also transition and, the kids are now left by themselves. Question becomes, what do we do and how do we do it? And the answer is, you do your best. Just do your best. And if you do your best and study hard, someone's going to, discover you, and next thing you know, hey. Now this is my wife, Pat. Pat's currently going through a little struggle here with her health, but we were fortunate enough to stand behind with these wonderful statues. It's a long field, and the young lady who, was our guide was just magnificent. But these are people who became servant leaders in a different way. All the statues that you see are of warriors, leaders who had to fight against apartheid and against the terrible regime of hatred and separatism there in Africa. And they came from all over. It wasn't just these statues weren't just of historical figures in South Africa, but it's historical figures around the world. People who, no matter where they weren't going to change. They probably would do the same exact thing to fight for freedom and fight for justice. So yeah. Dr. Martin Luther King, as you know, won the Nobel Peace Prize, but then also he was shot and killed on the balcony of the Lorraine Motel down in, that was Memphis, Tennessee, I believe. And the point being, he was shot and killed by a sniper who really, truly, he should have known better. He did know better. And yet still he let himself be used as a pawn, as far as I'm concerned. And then when they caught him, they captured him, and he's like a lone wolf. I think he eventually died in prison. James Earl Jones was his name. But darn well, like I do, that oftentimes, especially back in the day, those things weren't done willy-nilly. They were done because of a dictate that came down. And they said, and he's portrayed in the movie anyhow. The assassin is as somebody who showed great regret that he did it. But then the movie part was showing how he was getting out of the country. He's trying to get away because he didn't want to be held accountable at all. And more than likely, he was already connected to some kind of mob or syndicate or something like that. But once again, here you have a man who represents God standing on the Lorraine Hotel balcony and out there with other lieutenants, Jesse Jackson, I can't call the names that were out there. And, he was shot down because of what he carried, and he carried the Christian love and servant heart and spirit, in his body, and he gave it to the world. He never showed me the speech where he called for someone's demise, or where he marched with a gun, or any that kind of stuff. No, he left that up to others who fought militarily and did what they had to do. But he did it with words and with proximity. He would go directly to the persons who he felt were causing the kind of upheaval and kind of separatism that we had at the time. We went right to him, and he gathered information, and so he did the right thing from a Christian perspective. Here's another video I see, and that is Dr. King right there. That's a statue of Dr. Martin King. Now remember, this is in South Africa. This is in Cape Town, South Africa. But he had such an impact. And that statue, as you can see, is about 6'1", 6'2", because I'm about the same height. And these were statues that were commissioned. They weren't great big park, by the way. You can go down and just start from the very back and then just work your way up. And it's fascinating to read about them and why this, chose them to be this servant leader that was, put into a statute that would stand among the other statutes. Yeah, it takes more than just to give lip service. It takes putting your life on the line, really stepping up and stepping in when no one else will. It takes a lot. It takes an awful lot to be a Christian. And that's okay, because we have a lot to be thankful for. I believe that's Mary McKeeba. I could be wrong. I can't quite see the picture there, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that's Mary McKeeba, the great singer. You see, she has the microphone, and she literally, went into exile. She could not be in South Africa because of the songs she was singing, and her songs were not, so much protest that it was calling for the demise of anybody. They were just what you call protest songs, and she sung about the victory of our people and all that. And she was an excellent singer and stuff. But she also had, it's well documented on, the Xfinity and all that stuff. She also had a husband who was extremely jealous of her, and that also didn't understand her desire to get out here and to speak and to, just take a stand for something. And she got, stoned and everything else under the sun. And eventually she had to make her way out of South Africa in order to, show people that she was serious. Yeah. Yeah. So it's really good stuff. Oh, here's another couple. I think he has a couple more. That's my wife again, Pat, standing. And that statue, I don't know all the statues by heart. You see the little plaque that's right down below them and in between Pat and the statue. And it tells you exactly who the people are. This might have been Shaka Zulu. I don't think it is, but Shaka Zulu was a great warrior king in Africa. And he fought, the British and all that to maintain, independence and democracy within his ranks and show that Africa was strong, the people of Africa were strong. And so I'm not sure if he was captured or not, but remember the guy saying that, we're all servant leaders in our own way. And the key is that we have to figure out how we are to serve. And you see, some of us had to go to war. This young brother, I didn't really know his name. I've seen him before, and everything. But, it's a great example of somebody who, had to go to war, had to fight, and then at the same time, had to do what needed to be done. And so, hats off to those persons. We always say to people here in the United States, we always say, thank you for your service. Well, I want to say to all those freedom fighters, thank you for your service. Thank you for what you did, to make us, free and independent people today. It wasn't always like that. In many, places in the world, it's still not like that. But thank God for those persons who were courageous enough to pick up, and to go, to war when needed be. No one wants to see a war, I like the song that says, what is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Nobody wants to see a war. But at the same time, everybody wants to be free. And we know that sometimes freedom comes at cost, and the cost is that we have to fight for it. And so I thank God for the Christian church. I thank God for the Christian leaders who were able to understand and to see that, things had to be done. And they found a way to do it with the word of God. Now, if we can avoid war and fighting and all that kind of stuff, yes, that's what we try to do. But sometimes, we just got to be honest about it. Sometimes you just got to pick up. You got to stand your ground. That's all there is to it. In the civil rights movement back in the day, many people struggled to, maintain their Christian spirit and to do what was right and to follow Dr. King. But there are a lot of people, African-American community, no exception, who felt like, Dr. King's message was out of touch. And they wanted to go a little bit deeper because they felt like we were just being abused all the time. It's like, okay, this turned other cheek thing is rough. It's needed and necessary because it's what we're called to do. But that doesn't say it's going to be easy. So, having said that, let me just kind of stop right there. I'm going to ask Brother Chris if you have a couple more pictures there to show some of the great leaders there that were immortalized when we were on our trip to South Africa. Again, the church and the people of God are always very, very prominent in all these fights. And that's Winnie and Nelson Mandela. And they were, the epitome of the fight that took place in South Africa as far as our freedom fighters were concerned. I like the fact that Nelson has on that suit there, and Winnie's dressed in and adorned in the one for African splendor. And the reason why it was important is because, first off, Nelson was a lawyer. He was a learned man. He wasn't someone just out to run around, trying to be seen and trying to be a so-called revolutionary. He was a revolutionary. He was about change, and he did it so well, And the only way they could stop him is by trying to take his life. In fact, it took 28 years from that man. Had him on Robben Island, and another island was supposed to be even worse than Robben Island. Once we got to South Africa, we found out that the first 7 or 8 years of his life was in a notorious jail where men were raped and everything else was happening. It was a horrible place. At the same time, he went to Robben Island, and they wanted to separate him out of touch with the other South African leaders because they were prayed up and stayed up and determined to fight. And so they tried to move Nelson Mandela around. In fact, at one point, the last, I think, 3 or 4 years of his imprisonment, they put him in an isolated home where he could be by himself and not around his comrades. And they, kind of worked on him. So when he came out with the, nonviolent approach to changing South Africa, and he said that we're going to have the Truth and Reconciliation Commissions, and he talked about how if people just told the truth, sometimes they would have to suffer consequences. And some of them did. And one guy in particular, his crimes were so horrific, even in, describing them. They had to give that man life in prison. They said, oh my God, while we do think, we appreciate the fact that you came forward, you told the truth, but the truth was so horrific. And the thing is, it might be like that. So listen, I always enjoy bringing this particular program. And there's some other, I love this side. Yeah, it's Castro on if you look to the left of the picture, that's Castro. And then that's, Julius, I think that's Julius, I'm gonna mess up his name. I know Nairi, he went to Lincoln University here in the United States. And let me see, I can't really see the name there, but I know, I'm gonna say Nairi, something like that, but it's gonna hit me. But anyhow, these are dynamic leaders, men whose words, whose actions still resonate today within those persons who are change agents and who want to make the world a better place. There were a lot of people who came from different ideologies. Not everybody was a Christian or in the church. Castro certainly wasn't, neither was not Julius Nyerere, I don't think, at the time. Some of them embraced socialism and this and that, but they all understood that what was wrong. And they could not stand for the people who were being treated, poorly like that, and being beat down and being imprisoned, being murdered. There were so many people that were just murdered by, a racist regime and people who just didn't have our best interests at heart. And so, we got to always remember to say, thank you for your service to those persons who truly understood, who understands, But I'm going to ask the good doc if he'll go on and just play us on out at this point. I got to get ready and go over here to the my job here at the West Shore Hospital, where I serve as the chaplain. I still have a little bit of readiness to do. I had 2 people call me while we were on the air here, and I need to get back to them as well. Great people who support, the communities where they are in so many different ways. So I definitely want to hear what they have to say. But I want you to be blessed as well. No matter what you do, stay positive, stay strong, stay focused, and whatever you do, stay on the case. We need soldiers in the army, and we need soldiers who aren't afraid to fight, although we may have to die, and hold up that bloodstained banner. We got to do it. That would be, the blood of Christ. And whatever you do, be a good finder. there's some good out here in the world. We got to make sure that we find that good. All right. All right. Well, God bless you and have yourself a blessed day. And I'll see you next time. Goodbye.
You're listening to The Voice 17105.